now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Screen.
Yeah, I just want to put there I am.
There you go. Okay.
All right, so I'll reshare after.
All right, so
What are you teaching there?
oh, same accounting. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
The AIS course or something
yeah.
different?
I'm doing the AIS course, the basic AIS and advanced accounting, auditing. Yeah. Same stuff.
Well, I'm sure they're loving you. So.
I hope so. Yeah.
Do you want me to get started or?
Yeah, okay, everyone. Welcome to another Beta Alpha Psi meeting. Today we have Sandy from Becker coming to speak with us. And Sandy, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me today. I know this is the first time that I've been able to speak on campus, so I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there in person. This time's a little bit challenging for me just because it's one of those days where my son had a half day, he has soccer, then he's got aftercare and he gets out at 6. So thank you for accommodating me and, just trying to, just letting me host this virtually, but I promise I will be on campus one day. So I wanted to get started. I'm going to do a brief background of the CPA exam, and then I'll talk about the application process and talk about the candidate guide, and then help answer any questions that you might have. And so I'm going to turn off the video because I'm going to share a PowerPoint right now. And my computer's a bit old, so when I have too many things going on, it's not always the best quality. So that's why I'll take off my video. I'm going to share. Let me open this up. And how is this? All right, can you all see the pathway to CPA presentation?
Yeah, we could see.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just to start, a little bit about the CPA exam structure. There's 3 core parts and then 1 discipline area. So the 3 core parts are financial, audit, and reg. And then the discipline area includes 3 parts within itself. And so those 3 parts include business analysis and review, information systems controls, and then tax compliance planning. And so I'll get into the content that's covered within those parts as we dive deeper into the presentation. But keep in mind that you'll want to apply to the state that you'll be working in. That's what I hear from most firms. There are exceptions. Sometimes the firms are running special programs and they're running at, at a certain time, and they want you to apply to the state where you, which is just more convenient. But in general, the firms will want you to apply to the state that you're working in. However, you can take the test in any state. So if you're planning to work in New York or New Jersey, but you live in California, you can sit for the exam in California, but you will want to apply to the state that you'll be working in. In terms of the time range to pass all 4 parts, this area in general, especially New York and New Jersey, you do now have 30 months to pass all 4 parts. In the past, you were only given 18 months. So this is a lot better for students that are trying to pass the exam while they're working, especially during busy seasons, because when you're working, most people won't have time to study for the exam. So that eliminates time from January to April, and then there's some busy seasons in like September, October. So then you're limiting yourself to 6 months out of the year. So having the 30-month cycle really helps the students and works to the advantage. One of the big differences between students in New York that are in school and then students that are in New Jersey and are in school is that in New York, you can start studying for the test when you have 120 credits and you don't need to graduate. the difference in New Jersey is that you do need to graduate. You need the 120 credits still, but you do need to graduate in order to start sitting for the exam. So that's one of the differences. In terms of the actual exam, there's 5 testlets. There's 2 multiple choice testlets and then 3 task-based simulation testlets. So the multiple choice consists of a lot of like remembering and understanding type questions with a little analysis. And then the task-based simulations are similar to word problems. It could be creating like a balance sheet or an income statement or things along those lines. And then you do have a break within the 3rd and 4th testlet between the first two task-based simulations. And so this is a map of the credit period. So you can see the green where New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, those are where the 30-month rule was implemented. And then, you know, some of the states are still voting. Pennsylvania voted to go to 30 months. And then there's a couple of purple and red as well, which was the 36 months. So just to get into a little bit about the core sections, the first one is financial accounting and reporting. In the past, this was one of the sections with the lower pass rates and the most amount of information. And so with the new disciplines, some of the financial information has been shifted around. They also eliminated the business section and they took what's in the business section and shifted that around as well into some of the discipline areas. So right now, the expected study time for financial is 80 to 100 hours. I think it was closer to 120 hours in the past. The foundation from your curriculum here would be the intermediate and advanced accounting classes. The topics that are covered would include financial reporting, select balance sheets, accounts, and select transactions. And then you can see the scoring weight and the skill level. Evaluation is only considered part of the audit section. But remembering and understanding is more like memorization. Application is where you would be using more like mathematical skills, and then analysis is more like those like case studies, like higher cognitive thinking and things along those lines. I won't go over every bar graph or pie chart, I guess it is, on each slide, but you can see like the percentages and the breakdown. But in terms of multiple choice questions, there's 50 MCQs and then 7 task-based simulations within financial. In terms of audit, the expected study time here is 80 to 100 hours. The foundation here is really your audit and advanced auditing classes. The content that is covered is ethics, professional responsibilities, and general principles, assessing risk and developing a planned response, performing further procedures and obtaining evidence, and then forming conclusions and reporting. And you can see the skill level breakdown. In this section, there's a bit more multiple choice questions with 78 and then 7 task-based simulations as well. The third core section is taxation and regulation. The content that's covered here would include ethics, professional responsibilities, and federal tax procedures, business law, federal taxation of property transactions, federal taxation of individuals, federal taxation of entities. The expected study time here is 80 to 100 hours. And then the foundation would be federal tax and business law. 72 multiple choice questions, and then 8 task-based simulations. And then just getting into the 3 disciplinary areas, keep in mind you don't take 3 disciplines to pass the CPA exam. You only have to take 1 discipline. And the firms aren't, I wouldn't say they don't care, but their expectations are that you just pass the CPA exam. So it would be beneficial to take a discipline that correlates to the area that you think you want to specialize in. But sometimes people will take things based on the least amount of study time or what comes easiest to them, so it's really your decision. The firms aren't going to, as far as I know, expect you to take a discipline, because you're working in a certain area. They're just really hopeful that you'll pass the CPA exam. So keep in mind that the content covered is business analysis, technical accounting and reporting, and state and local governments for the business analysis and reporting discipline. There's less multiple choice questions here. There's 50, and then there's 7 task-based simulations. The study time is a little bit longer. It's 100 to 120 hours. And then in terms of like your job opportunities, this may help in terms of an auditor at a public accounting firm, work in the accounting department at a corporation, and then potentially in the long term, a controller, chief accountant, CFO, or CEO. And then for information systems and control, this is a little bit less study time, 80 to 100 hours. Job opportunities might include data manager, data engineer, scientist, IT auditor, CIO, or CTO. If you like Excel spreadsheets and you love that stuff, this may be the discipline for you. It's a lot of information systems and data management, security, confidentiality, and privacy, considerations for system and organizational controls, and then control engagements. And then here, there's 82 multiple choice questions and then 6 task-based simulations. And then lastly, the tax compliance and planning, correlated more to like tax regulation. The expected study time here would be 80 to 100 hours. The job opportunities might include a tax analyst, tax compliance officer, working in the tax department with a company, a public accounting firm, government, banks, hedge funds, or ultimately owning your own tax practice. The areas covered would be tax compliance and planning for individuals and personal financial planning, entity tax compliance, entity tax planning, property transactions as well. And then this one would have 68 multiple choice questions and 7 task-based simulations. So this is basically a timeline of like when the scores were released. So we're pretty much in the last quarter for 2025. So if the AICPA receives your data file by October 23rd, which is tomorrow, you should get your score by November 7th. And then for November 15th, November 25th, December 8th by December 16th, and then December 31st, it should be by January 13th. I don't have the slides for 2026. I know that the schedule is changing a bit, but that information would be on the AICPA website as well. In terms of the disciplines and the score release schedule, we're in the last section for testing. The testing window is October 1st to the 31st, and then December 16th would be when you receive your scores. I believe for 2026, the testing will be more continuous. And then there's the 5 steps towards CPA licensure. So the first step is to meet the educational requirements. The second step would be to apply to take the CPA exam, submit your application. Step 3, study for the exam. So choose an exam review course provider such as Becker. Create your study plan and start studying. And I'll show you a little bit later about how our study plan is very interactive and it'll help you become exam day ready. You'll want to schedule your exam once you receive your notice to schedule, which I'll show you that as well. You'll schedule with Prometric, and then you'll take the exam, obtain work experience, and apply for licensure. And so I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. And I'm going to share NASBA. Here. Okay. So you should be looking at the New Jersey NASBA screen now. And so to get to this screen in Google, I just type New Jersey NASBA and this should come up. And so this is where you'll actually come to apply for the exam, and you'll want to read through the information on this entire page. There's also some great hyperlinks and useful guides here. I will show you the candidate guide today. This is an abundance of information. It's updated regularly. I think it was last updated in September. It gives you the lowdown of the entire process from applying to sitting on exam day and getting your scores. It's not state specific, it's national, but it does give you like step-by-step for processes like Prometric, if you need to reschedule and things like that. And so it's very, very helpful. And then there's some other great links here to the AICPA. There's a lot of information there about the CPA exam. And Prometric, this links directly to the CPA section so that you can schedule your CPA exam date. So I would recommend, first it just talks about how you'll go in and you'll create an account for you to submit your application. It's also where you'll go to get your notice to schedule. If you're making any payments, your application, your scores, they'll all be there. So you'll just click on apply now and it'll ask you to create an account. You go through the process, inputting your personal information, and that'll get you started. The site also talks about eligibility requirements. And so for New Jersey, here you need to be at least 18 years of age. And then you needed to have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution, completed at least 120 semesters hours of general college level credit, 24 semester hours in accounting, and at least 24 semester hours in general business courses. And then it talks about other candidates who may have been eligible in the past. A lot of this won't apply to you. But it makes sense to just read through everything anyway. It talks a little bit about getting your license. And so you would still need the 150 semester hours to get licensed, the 24 in accounting, and then the 24 in general business. There's talk of all of this changing, both in New York and New Jersey. And then also in terms of if you're looking to apply in New York, you can do the same thing. You just type in New York NASBA and the site should come up with their rules. Some of it's similar, but the requirements and the credits are different. There's information here about transcripts. And so if
they're on.
Excuse me. So if you are applying, the transcripts do need to come from the institution. So keep that in mind. You don't want to mail in your own transcripts, no photocopies, things like that. I've had students reach out to me that have told me like, oh, they sent the transcripts in themselves and then there's delays. Like NASBA can't accept that. They have to come from the school. So anybody who did any international classes, there is a NASBA international evaluation service that you can apply through, and that will help to verify your transcripts. If you do have international courses on your transcripts, just keep in mind it will take extra time to get approved. In some situations, it can take up to 6 months. In a normal situation, it will take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And then as you scroll down, there's no residency requirement for the state of New Jersey. And then it talks about like any additional materials that you might need submitted. You know, it talks about testing accommodations if you should need that. And then the fees. So before you can actually apply to sit for a part of the exam, they do now require an education evaluation application, and they require this in New York as well. The fee is $96, and so once they've approved that you're eligible to sit, you can then schedule your exam, and you would pay the exam section fee, which is $262.64. And then the exam application fee, which is the $96. I believe the reason they did this is there's so many students with different situations, and some have transferred or they did prior courses at a community college. And so NASBA was getting like so many questions about like, am I eligible to sit? So now they've started charging for the transcript evaluations. I'm personally and professionally not allowed to evaluate transcripts. So if you do have questions about your transcripts, I would definitely reach out to an accounting advisor just to see if they can help. It'll make the application process too a little bit easier if you've got all your ducks in a row. So the next thing I want to quickly show you is the candidate guide. So if you click here, this is a very robust guide, 54 pages. I'm not going to go through every single page, but I will highlight, you know, a couple areas. Just first of all, the table of contents, it talks about an introduction to the CPA exam, preparing for the CPA exam, applying for the CPA exam, and then what else? Scheduling your CPA exam, taking your CPA exam, and then receiving your scores. And then it has like some additional information in here. So let me just pull up a couple areas to show you. Definitely recommend reading through this, especially if you're a junior or, you know, senior and you're looking to take the exam in the near future. But here, let me show, this was new. This is a new addition. There is now a mobile app, so you can download a mobile app and you can access a lot of the information that you would get, you know, on the computer. So that's helpful. And then here, in terms of applying, I like to show students this. The states on the left, so from Alaska to Wisconsin, those use the NASBA site. So if you're, you know, looking to apply to any of those states, you could just follow the same philosophy, you know, Ohio NASBA. I know with Florida, they use both the Board of Accountancy and the NASBA site. So that is an exception. But the states on the right, from Alabama to Wyoming, those you'll need to apply through the Board of Accountancy. So if anybody is interested in applying to those states and you want to talk to a account manager from Becker, feel free to email me and I can put you in touch with somebody that knows that state very well. In terms of the application fees, it gives you a little summary there, and then receiving your notice to schedule. So once you've been approved, your transcripts and everything has been approved, you'll receive a notice to schedule. And the notice to schedule in most states is good for 6 months. And so this is what the actual notice to schedule looks like. It's going to give you the exam section, the section ID, the earliest you could take the exam and the latest. So you can see here, this is a 6-month period. It's going to give you some information about what types of IDs you can bring, what's acceptable, and then like prohibited items. And, years ago, we would make jokes about bringing your watch or wearing your watch, but now there's, iPhone watches. So, you could get a text with a formula on it. Not saying you or anybody would do that, but that's just the reality of technology now. So don't wear your watch, I don't think you're allowed water, things like that. Once you have that notice to schedule, you can schedule your exam. And so there's a nice chart in here, step by step, of how to do that. And so here I showed you the link to the Prometric on the NASBA site, but you can go in here and you just click here and then you'll follow the steps. Last time I was on there, it was pretty easy, and you could do a search by zip code as well. And keep in mind, like I mentioned before, you don't have to, if you apply to New Jersey or New York, you don't have to be here and take the test in those states. You can take them anywhere. But there are a lot of locations in New York City, as well as like Northern New Jersey. And then you'll want to keep scrolling. There's another section here that I like to point out, and that talks about rescheduling. So if for some reason you're not feeling like you're ready, or maybe, a family situation came up, and you just need to reschedule, maybe there's work issues. Here, it talks about rescheduling and the cancellation fees. So the further out you reschedule, the better off it is for you. There are fees the closer you get to the exam date. Refunds, it talks about here. And then taking your CPA exam, knowing what to expect. And I would definitely read through this prior, to exam day. You want to bring your notice to schedule. You want to know how to get to the exam center and how long it's going to take you, and like what personal IDs you're going to need and what items not to bring. In a lot of situations, I think they give you a locker, but you don't want to have to, bring extra things that you don't need. So there's a lot of information here about that. It talks about what to expect at the test centers. And then there's a little bit about the time. And so each exam part is 4 hours, but your appointment is about 4.5. There is like an introductory screen that you'll need to complete. And then there is that 15-minute break as well. And then there's a lot more information about regulations. And then at the end, it talks about receiving your scores. And so that you can find in the app or your portal. And the timeline will obviously change yearly. And then there's additional information here, should you need to reach out to somebody, and contact information. So there's a lot of great stuff in here. I love to share this with students just because it is so helpful. And then I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the PowerPoint. Share. So we've gone through that. Here's a quick summary, of the different states. I think I've covered most of this as well. New Jersey does have an ethics course, and then New York does not. And then the one thing that I recommend to students is you definitely want to create a study plan. The second you log into the Becker course, you're going to have access to the study plans, and I'll show you what that looks like. But you should just have a general study plan in mind as well before you start to study. And we've mapped out some plans just in terms of sections. But if you plan to choose the bar discipline, we recommend financial first, then bar, audit, and then reg. And then if TCP is the discipline, you select, we would recommend financial audit, reg, and then TCP. The recurring theme here is financial first. So, that's not the rule, but we do recommend to students because some of the information in the other sections builds upon financial. And then if you choose ISC, we would recommend financial reg audit ISC because there is that correlation between audit and ISC, or financial audit ISC reg. And a lot of times too, when you're creating your study plan, you might want to think about the number of hours that you have to study, just because you don't want to start studying and then start busy season and then have to go back to it 4 months later. You're just not going to retain the information that way. So that may also impact like how you create a plan. And then just a little bit about the Becker CPA review course. Our content is continuously updated on a regular basis. 100 of the top 100 accounting firms use Becker materials. We have partnerships with universities nationally. We have partnerships with corporations. We're constantly developing new businesses and new partnerships as well, especially in the area of CPA. Our courses, we have different packages that we offer. A lot of students, if you get a firm offer, the firm will generally pay for the Becker review course. Some firms will reimburse you after you pass, and some firms will pay for the course up front. Beyond the top 100, we work with hundreds more within the top 500, small firms, medium, large firms. The instructors come with decades of experience. They work nationally. Tim Garrity is, one of the instructors with Becker for several years. We try to be engaging and entertaining. And then, there's a personalized experience. We just came out with a tool called Newt. And so what Newt does, he is an AI tool that helps answer questions that you may have, regarding the multiple choice questions or the simulation. So they help from an academic standpoint. But we also have adaptive technology, so you can create quizzes and assignments to help hone in and specialize on those areas that you're maybe struggling with. And so the technology analyzes that, or you can create your own quizzes and tests, and pick out the types of questions that you would like to include. The study planner is very interactive. Some of the packages have hard copy textbooks if you still like to hold the book, and then all of the packages have digital textbooks, digital flashcards, and things like that. So if you go to becker.com/CPA, you can see the different types of packages that we offer. Some of them have tutoring as well, final review, and there's always promotions that are going on if you don't have a firm offer. Some students go different paths, maybe they want to start their own practice, or they're going on to law school, or there's a corporation that they're going to work in. So just check there, because there's always promotions on the packages that we host at different times. This is just an example of the study plan. You would enter in like the date you want to start, when you want to sit. It incorporates a little bit of your study habits, and then what do you want to include in your studying plan? Do you want to include like the flashcards and final review and practice tests? Are you a very thorough studier? Are you quick? Are you average? You can assess your study. You can include that in your assessment of your study time. And then it allows you to like allocate the time per day and the number of hours, and then it will create a plan for you. And so this is all right in the course. There's a study planner calendar that it creates. You can create it on a weekly, monthly, or just a list if you want, but it basically breaks down all the modules and the practice tests. And then if you're falling behind, you can edit it and change it read it out more. But it's basically going to set you up for all the material in order to get you exam day ready and to help you stay on track. In terms of trying out the course, there is a demo, a complimentary demo that we offer. It's at becker.com/CPA demo. So you can go in and try out the course. It allows you to use the study planner tool too. The other one unique thing I can say about the Becker course is that we have built like skill builder videos. And so for every simulation in the course, there's a video, like an instructor video that explains how to answer the simulation. The students love it. It's professor like going through the actual problem online via the video. And then there's also like tips that they'll throw in, or maybe like certain Excel rules that you maybe didn't know and things like that. So I highly recommend just like trying out the course. I am also, I'm always looking for campus ambassadors. And so if anybody is interested in the campus ambassador position next year, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is sbroadbent@becker.com. You would just help set up presentations via the clubs or potentially in class presentations. I don't think the university allows in-class presentations, so more or less the clubs, and then just like help talk to the students or answer questions about the Becker review course, or direct the student to me to help answer questions about the Becker direct course. But you do get the Becker review course complimentary at the end of the year. So if anybody else is interested, feel free to reach out to me next semester, and then we can set up a phone interview from there. And then again, this is my contact information, sbroadbent@becker.com. And then I wanted to just quickly show you one more thing. If I can pull it up. Share. Right here. There it is. There. Let's start over. So this is where you'll find like the information on our packages. So like I mentioned, we do a lot of promotions. There's the packages with unlimited access. And then this one, the Advantage, has 24-month access. And then there's like all the different options, like the bells and whistles. There's a premium package. But the promotions do change. So I just wanted to share that with you. You can see here, there's like different promotions, and they change like month to month, I would say. And they run for a certain amount of time. But also on our website, there's a lot of information here with exam resources and a lot of the information that I just covered, beyond the NASBA site and things like that. So we also do a lot of webinars. So if you want to stay in the know, we do have like an email sign up section in here that would allow you to receive like any educational emails that we send out, as well as like promotions that we're doing. So that's a good way to just stay on top of things. And so I'm just going to stop sharing for right now. I wanted to see if anybody has any questions that I can answer. And then if you don't have any questions, I'll put my contact information back in the chat. And you can reach out to me in the future if that works for you as well. I don't see any questions in the chat.
Hi,
Hey.
Jason, I had a quick question. I was curious, in your experience, if there's one discipline more so than the others that students have more success with.
So the pass rates seem to be lowest because the exam is newer. The pass rates seem to be lowest for bar. And it seems that most students find ISC to be a little bit easier. So that's what I'm seeing. Obviously, like if you're going into tax, it may be beneficial to learn TCP as well. But tax laws are always changing these days too. So we also offer CPE so that once you pass the exam, you can stay on top of those changes, you know, through continuing professional education. But as of now, I would say the students find the ISC section a little bit easier than the other two.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Israel, you said you had a question? Okay, good. Okay. Okay, with that being said, then, thank you, Sandy, for coming to speak with us today. Man, if you have anything else to say, of course, you could still.
Yeah, and thank you for your time and good luck with the rest of your semester. I hope to see you live on campus next time. And then, you know, if you need anything in the future, feel free to reach out to me. I'm also talking to the professors there on campus as well. So good luck. You know, I know that you can all do this. You have a strong accounting program there. So, you know, having the background will definitely help you in passing the CPA exam. You know, the biggest recommendation I can make is make a study plan for yourself. You know, stay motivated, try not to drag it out for 2.5 years. If you can pass it, you know, within 1 year, you'll be able to get back to life. So, you know, but you do have that extra cushion, you know, and just stay motivated. You know, you can definitely do this. But if you do have questions in the future, feel free to reach out. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much.
meet you all. All right, thanks. Have a great day.